anticipation for the players right now, knowing what is awaiting them, not only right now, but at the VMAC and also really on Wednesday. You know, what's fun is to see the players just enjoy this like kids.
Well, they are kids.
They are.
Most of them are.
The average age on this team, one of the youngest in Super Bowl history to claim a victory, 26 years old. That is it. So yeah, they are kids, and to see them on the field, let's watch.
It's stupid.
First off the plane, head coach Pete Carroll of your Seattle Seahawks, Super Bowl winners.
Wife.
He has his luggage in his hand, so he can't raise a hand to the fans, but you know that's probably what he wants to do, coming down the jetway, leading the way like he did all year. Really, the mind behind this team, the inspiration, was able to get so much out of these players and get them to play together in a way like we have not seen ever in Seattle. Congratulations to him. One of only 3 coaches to win a championship in college and then win a Super Bowl. The other 2 being Barry Switzer, who did it with the Cowboys, and Jimmy Johnson, who did it with the University of Miami and then the Cowboys as well.
You see some of the coaching staff as well. You saw John Schneider right behind Coach Carroll, along with Coach Carroll's wife, and the players. They're gonna be taking this in. You see them pulling out their camera phones. Many of them were given GoPros to help cover this week's events, kind of from the eyes of the players, and some of the pictures and videos that they were tweeting and Facebooking out was pretty amazing. This is a moment they're going to soak in. Biggest day in Seattle sports history, certainly in the last few decades. And for this team, every moment is special as they bring this home.
It looks like staffers and players getting off, many of them headphones on their heads and cameras out, ready to document this incredible moment. Coming back to Seattle, bringing the Vince Lombardi Trophy to CenturyLink Field. You know, so much was made in the 90s that the Seahawks may not be in Seattle. The owner at the time, Ken Behring, talked about moving the team, and Paul Allen was just a savior in buying it and just bringing championship football. And you know, he was criticized by some about bringing in Pete Carroll, whether Pete Carroll was the right coach in a professional program, had not seen great success in the NFL, but man, what results between John Schneider and Pete Carroll, and we are reaping the benefits as the 12th man at Seahawks fans right now.
It was really interesting this week to hear John Schneider. We had an interview with him talking about how he formed this team and looking for great players and looking for players who he knew would be great, but not everybody was convinced, and kind of bringing that all together. And he said, you know, when they're in the war room, you know, he's got it all under control, but when the team hits the field, he's kind of a nervous wreck and says, you know, it's all in the players and the coach's hands. And so what a great team and partnership this has been with the general manager and with the coach and with all of the players, and kind of the culmination of a great season and all of those moves that they made early on to get them to the Super Bowl, and so much hard work. I mean, you hear some of the interviews with Russell Wilson along the way, and man, that guy, he couldn't even relish in a win because he was ready to prepare for the next one. And preparation and determination and motivation all through this whole season, and making sure that they were showing up ready to play. And that was one thing that was interesting as well yesterday, was Coach Carroll said, we played our game. We didn't try anything new this week. We showed up and we did what we had been doing all season long. And that's how we won this football game.
As the great Russell Wilson likes to say, why not us? And I think the team totally bought into that. You know, you talked about the personnel. And they went after guys who other teams passed on for whatever reason. I mean, to think that they picked up the best corner in the game, Richard Sherman, in the 5th round. They got Russell Wilson, clearly a franchise quarterback, in the 3rd round. Apparently John Schneider wanted him in the 2nd, but he was still around in the 3rd, and that's when we got him. And just guys that fit the mold. They want big defensive players, even in the defensive secondary, which many teams, you know, that wasn't the model for success, but they built a new model. And now I was watching ESPN today and some other sports channels. They're saying this may be the model for other teams, that everybody's going to try to replicate what Seattle did, because not only did they put together a championship team, as we see players and coaches and staffers unload, but they put together a team that has a foundation that is built for the long haul. A few free agents going into this offseason, Golden Tate and Doug Baldwin, the 2 receivers, the most notable of those. But for the most part, we have our top talent locked down. And as a Seahawks fan, that's relief, because many times teams win a championship, they dismantle the team. They just can't hold on to the parts. You know, it raises the profile of all the players so greatly when they win a championship. But the good thing about this team is it looks like it's going to be around, and for the fans, that's a huge relief because once you get a taste of it, you want to get back there to the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. And talking about the fans, as we watch more players and coaches and the medical staff and other staffers get off the plane, we have a huge crowd of fans who are waiting not only at the bottom of this stairway and jetway, but also over in Renton at the VMAC, and they have been lining up for the last couple of hours ready to welcome this team home as well. The 12th man continuing to show its support following this team. What a great fan base. I mean, you talk about how easy the team is to root for. 12th man, you are really fun to root for as well, because even in the celebrations, you had great parties last night, just showing up, having fun, enjoying this win, soaking it in.
Yeah, I think that was Derek Coleman who just came off in the gray sweatsuit. Tony Ventrella, a longtime broadcaster who works for the Seahawks now, getting off right there. Now you see some of the other players and personnel, and that clearly looks like a player with his headphones on there. Can't quite get a read. It's hard to tell these guys without their numbers and sometimes without their gear on who they are. But then, man, they are just soaking it in, and I love the hugs and the congratulations. I mean, what a great feeling after the journey they have been on all season. Set off to send a message to the country that this team had the talent to win it all. There is Jermaine Kearse. What a game he had yesterday, getting in the end zone after flanking 4 tackles, and he was a walk-on with this team, makes the team, became an immediate impact guy, returning kicks and also catching the ball, and he had an incredible game yesterday.
Sidney Rice there, who was out with an injury all season long, but of course supporting the team. I mean, you got another guy. Oh, you got Doug Baldwin, you got Golden Tate.
Yeah.
You've got all these guys, you have familiar faces getting off. What a cool feeling.
Yeah, there's Breno Giacomini, a key part of the offensive line, a guy who grew up right outside of Boston, just is taken in Seattle. Max Unger and the beard, that is the beard that the world got to know this week. Just a super talent, grew up in Hawaii, but played at the University of Oregon and was a Pro Bowler this year. We are lucky to have a guy like that on the O-line. Wow, this is fun to watch, isn't it, fans? I mean, this is what you show up at CenturyLink Field. You tune in every Sunday here on Q13 Fox for our pregame and postgame coverage and watch the games. I believe that's Russell Okung there, the hat backwards. Is that the real Rob? Yeah, Michael Robinson there came back to the team after being cut because of injury, and an emotional leader in the locker room. Everybody responds to Michael Robinson. Huge part of the run at the end.
Yeah, I see Richard Sherman just rounding the corner there. He's one of the next to get off. It's so amazing. Oh, there he is on crutches. We know he has an ankle injury. We saw him suffer that injury early in the game, said he kind of played through it. But huge X factor. Somebody help him get down the stairs.
Yeah, hey, he doesn't need a hit. He's doing okay. He's hobbled, but he's spirited. And, man, what a joy it has been to watch him. And, as fans, you want players with personality. In the media, you want to cover players with personality. You couldn't ask for a guy to bring more personality than Richard Sherman. He plays with a fire, and he shares it with his teammates and the fans.
Well, and that was what was so great, and also a little bit difficult to watch as a Seattle Seahawks fan over the last couple of weeks is some of his post-game comments after the 49ers win in the NFC Championship game. His fans feel like they have known him all season long, and so it was great to see him get some attention and certainly the real Richard Sherman personality come out. More players getting off to fans' delight here at Seatac. If you're just joining us, this is the Seattle Seahawks. They've arrived back here in Seattle after bringing home a championship win, Super Bowl 48.
That's Michael Bennett coming down. There's Bobby Wagner right there. We just saw Bruce Irvin and the great Cam Chancellor. What a game he had yesterday. Set the tone early with that huge hit on Demaryius Thomas and then came up with a pick. We did see Percy Harvin get off before. So it seems like the receiver core is off, and now the big guys are coming off the plane. The defense, the guys who just got it done. There's Ken Norton, the great defensive coach who's joined this team after being just an all-star for the 49ers during his own career. And also played for the Cowboys. But yeah, here are the superstars that we've come to love in Seattle, getting off the plane one by one. Most of them with their own cameras or their phones in their hands, so they can take it all in. They've got some swag too. I'm seeing Xboxes being carried, and
And you want to hold this?
The staffers are
getting tired.
bags, but these are big guys. They don't have problems carrying what they need to. There's Luke Wilson, the tight end / receiver right there carrying his phone. Grew up in Canada. One of 2 Canadian players played at Rice. And Doug Baldwin coming off with his plane. He's been rolling that camera, for most of Super Bowl week. And what a special player who went undrafted out of Stanford.
Is that Hauschka?
I can't tell.
It is hard to recognize these guys when they're not in their gear. Lots of hugs for the flight crew. This must have been a fun flight, to be a fly on the wall inside this airplane as they made their way back here to Seattle. A long day for them. We keep mentioning that they started, of course, in Newark, New Jersey, and the snow started to fall last night, so there were delays for them trying to get out of the city this morning, and they had some trouble with the de-icing machines. Then they got routed to Minneapolis. They had to land because the flight crew needed a break. FAA regulations demanded it, and so they spent a little bit of time in Minneapolis. I know our Fox station there was talking about all of the hype there in Minneapolis with the Super Bowl team arriving, and then to finally get back up in the air and head home to such a gorgeous day in Seattle and to a fan base that just couldn't be happier to welcome them back home and start the celebration. Really, the party started last night in the streets of Seattle. Thousands of people spilling out into the streets of Seattle and other areas. We know you all were at home having big Super Bowl celebration parties, and the fans are just happy to kind of bring it all back home tonight. And the players are getting on those buses, and then they're going to head to more fans, an even bigger fan base over at the VMAC in Renton.